Double J Jeff Jarrett. If you would have came to me 10 years ago and said Double J Jeff Jarrett would be a WWE Hall of Fame member, I would go up to you and say, please, sir, what are you smoking and where can I buy some? Because, man, the destruction of total nonstop action wrestling is one of the most fascinating falls from, I don't want to say grace, but falls from being a legit contender to WWE that anyone has ever seen, you know, breathing on the face of the planet. So, and
now they're a Canadian indie promotion.
Yeah. Like, how the hell did we adopt them? That's the thing. It's the most twisted route ever for a promotion ever. But, you know, we talked him coming in the mid-90s from USWA. It's obviously Jerry Lawler influenced decision, you know, saying, hey, there's this kid down here. It's Jerry Jarrett's kid. Bring him in. He's pretty good. They give him, because country music was hot at that time, a Nashville singing gimmick. I guess because maybe he looked like...
His goal was to use professional wrestling to boost his country music bookings.
Well, he got booked more in wrestling than he ever did in country music. But the legendary "With My Baby Tonight" angle, which, you know, he was an Intercontinental Champion, and he had that big match with Shawn Michaels in Nashville, of all places. It was supposed to be, because it's in Jarrett's hometown, the crowd was going to be behind Jarrett and everything, and the crowd wasn't behind Jarrett, and they were behind Michaels more than anything else. And then on top of that, the lip sync angle between him and Road Dogg was kind of received as lackluster. And then on top of that, he jumped ship at the end and says, I'm going to WCW for more money. And gets thrown to WCW, kind of languishes mid-card there, comes back late 97.
I think he went to Smoky Mountain too, briefly.
Yeah, okay, sure. So that's, you know, a lot of people spent time in the early to mid 90s in Smoky Mountain and that stuff, and that's just because Cornette has such a great relationship with a lot of wrestlers from that era, and that stuff, and a lot of wrestlers saw a lot of appeal to going to Smoky Mountain. It's kind of like Smoky Mountain then is kind of like, and maybe we'll discuss this at a later time, because I think it's a good jumping off point for a few discussions, but I think Smoky Mountain back then is the equivalency of what NXT is now. As, you know, this is a cool developmental fed that, you know, you can go, if you're an established superstar, and get a couple of bookings down there, make a couple of paydays, have fun, see who's coming up, and then maybe you might see a guy that you might like, i.e., you know, I can't remember who it was that pitched Glenn Jacobs, I should say, later on was Kane to WWE. I just listened to this on a podcast too, but it was somebody down there.
Yeah, Glenn was a Smoky Mountain guy too.
Exactly, yeah. So I think it might have even been Undertaker, because Undertaker wrestled Unabomb down there in that one match that you can see on YouTube. And yeah, so maybe that was the way it was. I can't remember, but so that was one thing. And you look at NXT now, and it's a lot similar and that stuff, where, you know, established WWE roster people can go down to the PC in Orlando and find out when NXT's running in Florida, and then just go to the show and be like, hey, Lars Sullivan, that's a cool guy. I want to go back to creative, and maybe we'll call him up and get him to do a feud with Strowman or something.
But now he's a refrigerator repairman.
Oh, okay.
That's his new gimmick.
Oh, okay. I thought he got recently released or something. I didn't know about it. I was like, oh no.
No. I'm doing some WWF creative now.
There we go. So, but anyways, getting back to Double J. 97 comes in as part of the NWA invasion of WWE. Then later on rehashes with Robert Fuller the whole Tennessee Lee Double J country music singer gimmick. I've talked about this on a past gimmick table when we were talking about Stone Cold Country. the involvement of the country band Sawyer Brown with the angle and stuff. Steve Blackman getting smucked in the head with a guitar on a worldwide pay-per-view on stage. So, it's because karate guy versus country guy. Haha. That'd be funny.
Makes sense.
And 98, mid 98, they do another character change with him, and he becomes kind of this angry redneck dude with a hot female manager in Deborah McMichael. And
did he even have a gimmick though? I don't think it was a gimmick.
It was just, I think they just let him be him and just let him be just pissed off. That's it.
Yeah, he's just pissed off. Yeah. That was all he was.
So then they tag him with Owen Hart, who was also pissed off at the time.
And they were ultra conservative.
Yeah, they were uber conservative for sure. Until Owen's untimely passing. That's, another discussion for another time. Jeff hangs around for a little bit longer. Ends up racking up a ton of Intercontinental title reigns. Like, I think Jericho surpassed him, and I think he's now maybe second or third on the list all time for Intercontinental title reigns.
Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah. And
gets his notice,
jumps to WCW. Yeah, jobs to China on the pay-per-view. Jumps ship to WCW, forms the new NWO with Bret Hart, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Scott Steiner. If I got those 5 names correctly, and I think that was Vince Russo's version of the NWO, if I remember.
And the Harrises, yeah.
And the Harrises, yeah. And they were going to be the relaunch of Russo's WCW, but then of course we all know what happened there. Jarrett rides out everything, is involved in the Bash at the Beach 2000 atrocity with Hulk Hogan.
He pushed himself to a main event. He wasn't main event, but he became main event.
Broke 1,000 guitars, never drew a dime, in the immortal words of the late Mike Graham.
I was going to say that.
And
then
ends up being pretty much bought out of everything when WCW closes.
He wasn't even looked at.
But here is the twist. Here's the twist coming out of that. Decides that he's not going to go after a WWE contract, and instead talks with his dad and develops TNA with the help of the National Wrestling Alliance that was around. That was kind of floundering at that time and that stuff. But I would say, and then we're talking about this point 10 years ago now and that stuff. There was a point 10 years ago where that was a good main event, by the way, Rhino and Raven. I actually enjoyed that card. That was good. Unbreakable 2005. Man, 10 years ago, TNA was just, I don't want to say it was a license to print money, but they were making some serious cash because they were what I thought what the model future federation would be like.
Yeah, they hired a lot of the hot indie wrestlers at the time who weren't getting chances with WWE. It turned out to create a perfect product. They threw them in the X division, which had no weight limit, but it was somewhat with a weight limit.
Here's the thing. They allowed the indie guys to keep taking indie bookings, but just they would have to use their TNA music and give them their TNA merchandise to sell at the merch tables.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's better than going to a WWE house show because you can actually see, okay, this guy that was on Impact last Thursday on Spike TV, oh, he's coming to the rec center gym in my hometown, and he's wrestling the other guy from Ring of Honor in a main event. Cool. I'm going to go check that out, obviously, There's two hot indie feds going one after another, right? So...
Absolutely. So Jarrett, I mean, he booked himself as a champ, which is a no-no. But
that's wrestling cliche, though. If you're the promoter, you're going to book yourself as. How many promoters do we know that have booked themselves as champs? Like probably all of them.
Vern Gagne pushed everybody but himself.
I mean, hell, Vince was WWE champion once in his life, so hey, whatever.
Okay, we'll scratch that. But anyway, Jarrett did give a lot of opportunities to people who weren't getting opportunities. He also had partnerships with New Japan, with Ring of Honor, so they were able to trade talent every now and then too.
Right. So that carries on, and then this is where it gets complicated, because this is when I kind of tuned out of watching Impact and TNA all about it, and so maybe you can help me fill in the gaps a little bit. So, does the thing with Karen Angle lead to Jarrett's dismissal from the company the first time in 07, 08, or was there just a power struggle, or what was the...
He sold to Panda Energy,
Right.
but he still had booking ability. However, Kurt Angle, who was one of their top guys, his wife had an affair with Jeff Jarrett.
Right.
That caused a lot of bad blood and tension, and they had no choice but to let Jarrett go.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so they let him go. I guess Dixie Carter brings in Vince Russo, who him and Jim Cornette butt heads, obviously, because that's
Cornette leaves,
water.
yeah.
Cornette leaves. Russo's still around.
He brings Bischoff and Hogan in.
Brings Bischoff and Hogan in. It's WCW all over again, and not the good WCW, but the bad WCW. And then we get Claire Lynch. No, anyway, that's later on down the line. And just over and over again, bad decisions.
They had a good thing when they changed and they brought Hogan and Bischoff in. They scrapped the six-sided ring, which was marketable for them. They decided, hey, we can compete on Monday nights, which was bad.
It didn't work out for them at all.
No.
And then, on top of that, at the end of it all, Jarrett eventually leaves TNA for good. I want to say about 12 or 13. I can't remember when that was exactly. But then starts up his new Global Force Wrestling idea promotion in about 14, 15-ish. They tape a bunch of shows in Las Vegas using primarily indie talent, but a lot of the headline names were people who were still on the Total Nonstop Action roster. People at that time, people like Bobby Roode, I don't want to say... I'm not sure if James Storm was involved in that or not, but Bobby Roode's a good example. They tape a bunch of shows,
and they never get released.
They never really get released. They never air on any TV. They do a bunch of ballpark house shows, and by ballpark I mean they actually filled.
Not filled.
Well, quarter filled minor league ballparks across the United States, and I'm not talking like your AAA, major league affiliate ballparks. This is your single A. Where's Johnny going to go to play baseball after college type ballparks in Cheryl's Ford, North Carolina, or down in them hills where they played in baseballs.
Yeah, GFW. Jarrett was trying to do the same thing he did with TNA in 2002. But with another idea he had, but the exact same way, and it just didn't work out this time.
Right, exactly.
However, GFW did one thing, and that's introduce New Japan to America.
That's right, which is one of the weirdest twists to this now, is that the current New Japan Pro Wrestling product, the first time it was seen by mostly North American eyes, was brought to you via a Global Force Wrestling pay-per-view license for Wrestle Kingdom 9, I think it was.
Yep, number 9 introduced.
Yeah, in 2015. And they had flown over Jim Ross, Matt Stryker, and I want to say, was Yoshitatsu the third man in the booth, or was it just Ross and Stryker that year?
I think it was just Ross, but it was... Yeah, it's the first time they recorded it in English for an American audience.
That's right, and it was broadcasted live on pay-per-view. That I remember because I ordered it, and it was the first time seeing guys like Ibushi, Omega, Shinsuke Nakamura,
Tanahashi.
Well, I had seen Tanahashi and Okada in TNA years earlier, but under their current gimmicks that they got now, if you can even call them gimmicks, they're just, whatever it was. And not a lot of people know this, but Jeff Jarrett is a member of the Bullet Club.
Was.
Well, debatable. Yes, I'm not sure. I guess same was as Gallows and Anderson are now.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Alumni of the Bullet Club, I guess would be
alumni.
Better, for sure. So, because during 14 he invaded at the end of I want to say was it New Japan Cup or something like that. But anyway, he came out and made himself known that hey, he's Bullet Club. So, was involved in a 6-man tag, if I remember correctly, 6 or 8-man tag on that Wrestle Kingdom show and during the show, all they were doing was just hyping Global Force, hyping that, hey, this is coming to North America. Global Force is going to be a thing. They have a working relationship with New Japan, blah, blah, blah. You're going to see New Japan guys in Global Force and vice versa. So,
and then Ring of Honor comes in and steals it.
That happens, yes. And then Jarrett is floundering and starts the infamous Global Force Gold kind of, I don't want to say pyramid scheme, but it actually was, where Jeff Jarrett would buy your gold that you had and turn around and give you money for your gold.
Like 10%.
Yes. Like anything and everything that you can see that you thought had gold in your jewelry collection or something. And
Jarrett needs money.
Yeah.
Please give him gold.
Exactly. That's what it was. And so after that, obviously flounders out and that stuff. We don't hear from him for a bit until last year in around Slammiversary time, and I discussed this on the channel in the early days of the channel with the Slammiversary pay-per-view, Global Force coming in and joining and becoming partners with Impact Wrestling and TNA. They dropped the TNA name and decided to go with, okay, this is going to be Global Force Impact Wrestling going forward. They adopt the colors and that stuff. They have an amazing Slammiversary pay-per-view, which was top-notch by all accounts. A very impressive show from top to bottom. Crown a brand new champion in the controversial Alberto El Patron, who had worked I don't want to say all 3 major companies because he hadn't worked New Japan yet and hadn't worked Ring of Honor, but he had just came off of a WWE run, and prior to that was on the initial cast of Lucha Underground, which was hot at that time. I believe it still is, kind of, sort of, but was really just at its hot period in 15, 16 there. And, just, I don't know what happened with that after, but it just fell apart, I think, because of Jeff's personal demons and that stuff, and started missing bookings for different indies around the country, around the world in that matter. And then next thing we know, hey, Double J's going into the WWE Hall of Fame, which is, thank you for enrolling into our rehab program. Here is all your benefits, and oh, by the way, you're going into the Hall of Fame. All right, great. So, as jaw-dropping as it is to see this name in the WWE Hall of Fame, I think I just outlined the reason why he's in the Hall of Fame. It's kind of the same type of deal why people like Sonny are in the Hall of Fame, where it's a condition of rehab, I would think.
Yeah, I'm curious. Just because he's had such a negative representation against WWEF for the last 15 years, all of a sudden it's water under the bridge.
Yes. Yeah. It'll be an amazing speech, and once all the details of this come out, it'll be really good to see.